Hey guys, and welcome back to Hoosier Hardware. There's a lot going on around me. I have this brand new to me motherboard that's actually ancient in front of me, but it is housing an Ivy Bridge i5 that I had kicking around, so I figured I would just make a video about it. And in the background, you may hear my dog in the other room chewing on a bone, or you may hear the lawnmower outside. Regardless, we forge ahead. So here's the quick story behind this i5. This was actually sitting in a pre-built system that I removed and put in a quad-core 8-thread Xeon. So now I had this i5 just sort of laying around. I wanted to put it into a Dell system, but it is a sort of a server system, and that particular motherboard does not accept modern graphics cards whatsoever, which pretty much for my purposes of wanting to flip the PC kind of rendered it a little bit useless. So I've been sort of harvesting parts out of that, and that led me to purchase this motherboard from a online retailer that's kind of sketchy, I guess. Not really sketchy, just unknown to me. I'll try to remember to put the name of the online retailer there. But basically, it was really cheap. It was something like $35 or $40 total, shipped to my door from China. And I was really hoping that it would work because, frankly, I don't know that I would be able to get a refund if it didn't work. Fortunately for me, it did work. It actually had a different language selected in the BIOS. I was able to switch that over though, and everything looks like it's good to go. So I put this 1070 Ti on the test bench now that I know the motherboard is good, and we're gonna load up a couple of games and see if this i5 in 2019 is still good enough to play 1080p games. So to give you a little bit better of an idea of what's going on here, we have an i5-3470 processor. That's an Ivy Bridge i5, 4 cores, 4 threads, no hyper-threading, and none of those modern 6 or 8 core CPUs going on here. We have 16 gigabytes of DDR3 RAM running at 1600 megahertz. Actually, let me check that. And yes, I am correct, it is running at 1600 megahertz. Then we have the 1070 Ti here, and that's really just here to make sure that I'm not in any way bottlenecked by the GPU. I'm pretty sure the 1070 Ti is overkill for this particular i5. Time will tell though. So we're gonna load up a couple of games, give you a little gameplay footage. I'm not really gonna benchmark these, but I am gonna throw up MSI Afterburner as I play the games, might add some commentary as well, and then we'll sort of come back here for the wrap up at the end. Okay, so now that we are in the game, we're gonna go ahead and double check that our settings are what I want it to be. I'm gonna just set it to the high quality preset, hit apply. I need to restart the game. Then we're gonna hop into a game, high quality preset at 1080p, see what we get. Okay, so the early returns on Overwatch here are very positive. We're over 120, 30 or so FPS here. Running at about 130, 140, getting into 150. Ooh, I'm gonna die. Close to 150, there's a little over 150. Oof. Brutal. Alright, so we lost that round, but here's the basic wrap-up with this setup. The CPU is our bottleneck here, running at 100% of the time, or 100% of the time, basically in-game. But the good news here is that, yes, Overwatch and probably pretty much all esports titles are still perfectly playable on this CPU. This is not going to be a gaming computer that you can also stream with, probably, if you're using the CPU at least. But for the most part, this is going to be a computer that, at least for esports, is good to go. So next up, let's take a look at Metro Exodus, which is a modern AAA title that's very demanding, though I'm not really sure how demanding it is on the CPU side of things. Let's see how that game runs and see if it's playable. Alright, just to give you an idea of where we are on settings for this particular game, looks like we're at 1080p on the low quality preset though. And the GPU actually looks like a little bit of the bottleneck, at least with this refresh rate. So I'm actually going to pop that up to high because the CPU, at least right now, was running it there for the few seconds I was running it extremely well. So we're going to leave tessellation off. We're going to leave texture filtering down and all that jazz. And we're going to see how this game runs at high settings now. Oh, I'm on die. Okay, I just died. So there's good news and bad news with this. I'm going to go ahead and load the last checkpoint here. The good news is that, yes, this game will definitely run well above 60 FPS. The big bad news here, though, is it looks like my frame times are kind of all over the map when I'm actually in game. Do you see that graph there? on the on-screen display, and it's really just kind of all over the place with it jumping up and down constantly. Now, the nice bit here is... Ooh, that's an ugly dude. The nice bit here is that it actually does look and feel fairly smooth. Goodness, I'm gonna die from these dog things again. I do not remember there being this many of them. Oh, I just got a med kit. That's fun. Okay, so this game is certainly playable at 1080p, even with an i5-3470, Ivy Bridge i5 2019. Metro Exodus looks like it is perfectly playable. Obviously, this is one level towards the start of the game. I haven't really got into playing this game whatsoever. I'm just using it really for benchmarking that first level right now. But it does look very playable. The last game I want to check out, though, is one that the CPU a little bit harder. All right, just like last time, we're going to hop in here to see what graphical settings we have. We have 1080p, no VSync. Everything is on medium and or high, though post-processing there is on high. So we're just going to roll with that and see if that does us any good or if we need to adjust settings to get things playable. On the bright side, the menus are running at hundreds of FPS. Like, I saw over 1,000 in the main menu not too long ago there, and we're up to 836 there, so menu performance is top notch with this i5. So here we are on our main island, or at least my main island for this particular game, and zoomed out, we're getting close to 60 FPS, not quite to that 60 mark, but if we zoom in, this is where we can kind of hit performance a little bit, or at least I thought I would be able to hit performance a little bit. That it wasn't actually the case at all. So regardless, I'm running at around 60 FPS. I'd probably run at about this distance, maybe even full distance away. So there we're seeing dips down into the mid 40s. If I sort of move around a little bit, it sort of fluctuates between that 40 and 60 mark, not really going much below that. Let's hop over to a neighbor's island. So this island seems to have the most going on with it right now, and even still, I'm in the mid 40s. So I would definitely say I could get a little bit more out of this CPU, I think, by tweaking some settings. But even as it sits, obviously the GPU is not really the bottleneck, and really even the CPU is not running overly aggressive all the way up to 100%. And we're getting perfectly acceptable frame rates for a real-time strategy game, which, as you probably know, for the most part, they don't really require you to have super high FPS to begin with to really have a decent playing experience, because it is such a slow-paced game. So I know this video was a little bit less formal than most. Basically, I wanted to see if these i5 Ivy Bridge processors are still decent for gaming in 2019, and it looks like as long as you're just gaming, not doing any streaming or anything extra with them, this Ivy Bridge processor, this i5 quad-core, is still perfectly fine for just gaming. Now, I don't know that I would recommend pairing it with a 1070 Ti. I think there's a major imbalance there between the GPU and the CPU. This is a dead platform. Obviously, the most you can get out of these Ivy Bridge systems is basically 4 cores and 8 threads, which in 2019 is pretty lackluster. So if you get these on a really good deal, they might still be worth it if you're trying to put together a very, very budget-friendly system. But if you're really just looking for solid upgrade paths, you should be looking elsewhere other than these Ivy Bridges. And yes, I do understand there are some games out there that are really gonna make this i5 processor cry for mercy, but for the most part, you should be good to go with playing most modern AAA titles with this i5 processor, again, provided you're not doing anything else other than just gaming. But that's gonna be it for this video. Let me know in the comments down below what you think of these older systems. Is this something you would consider for your maybe your first gaming PC, maybe even your next gaming PC? Maybe you're coming from some really old hardware. Let me know what you think about these i5s especially down below. And of course, all the normal rules do apply here. Give this video a like, share, subscribe, comment, all those things super helpful for the channel. You can follow me both on Instagram and on Twitter at Hoosier Hardware. And as always, I'll let YouTube queue up a couple more videos from my channel for you to watch. I'm Shane with Hoosier Hardware, and I'll see you guys in the next video.